Ashe Gems. Welcome back to the Empress Empire podcast. I'm your host with the most, Ashanti, or the Sacral Empress. And today I have a special guest on. Feel free to introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Lyric. Currently go by Madame Midheaven, which a lot of you will see. Check me out on IG at Lyric Chanel underscore ABN. I'm
Thank you so
excited to be
much.
here.
Yeah, thank you for being here. I'm really excited to get into our topic. Today, guys, we're going to be talking about living a soft life. And getting into that, talking about a lot of things in that area, and giving y'all a little taste of what that looks like. I know for me that's been a big hassle, big struggle, trying to live a soft life because I've always been in my masculine energy. So trying to be more feminine and being more receptive was always hard for me because I feel like I always had to like go out and get it or work my ass off for certain things. So it was one of those things where when people would talk about it, I'd be like, oh, that sounds good, but what's the catch? Like,
Right.
what you really got to do to, live that type
hmm
of lifestyle. So, um, you had mentioned that, and I think that with this conversation, I am not the most well versed in living a soft life because I'm still getting it, still figuring it out. But what does that mean to you? What does living a soft life look like? What does it feel like? What's the experience?
I mean, honestly, I'm still getting into it myself, but I know it's something that I want to be in fully, right? It's I feel like maybe my perspective and my definition to it will change or evolve as I continue on a journey or whatever. But right now, I guess I feel like a soft life is really about like putting yourself first, like wholly, fully, making sure that you are fulfilled and not always in a position or an energy of sacrifice and struggle. You know, I feel like at least with me growing up, in a black household, and I'm sure it's true for a lot of POCs, that we watched our parents come up with that type of energy. And therefore we had that type of energy instilled in us as well. But I don't think it's the best energy, and the older I get, the more I'm just like, I just kind of want to be. I just kind of want to be. I want to chill. I want to feel good and not be on pins and needles of I need to do this, I need to get that done, or be on pins and needles um of defense. Because your literally your nervous system, your central nervous system can't even relax when you always on pins and needles and you always on defense. You always on gotta do this, gotta do that, always on gotta take care of this, gotta be head of this, gotta be head of that. I just kind of wanna sit back and kick my feet up and drink something cute, and just be in a space of receptivity rather than always giving, giving, giving and doing, doing, doing. Um, and as well as not being in a space of living too far into the future, because that I feel like it also puts you in that space opposite of living a soft life, if that makes sense. So
Yeah, I definitely understand that. And I love that you brought up being in a Black community household, just being in a Black household, period. But the Black community specifically, we're conditioned to work harder because we gotta get past these obstacles that are put in front of us. Or, I always had to hear that growing up. It's like, oh, well, you have to work harder because you're Black and yada, yada, yada.
mhm.
And I'm just like, bro, you get to a point in your spiritual journey where you realize that, it's conditioning. It's not the truth because we don't actually have to work ourselves to the end, you know what I'm saying, to get what
No,
we
no,
want.
you
And,
definitely
that's a
don't.
big misconception is that we got to work hard and, got to be on time. We got to do this, we got to do that. Everything's got to be done a specific way. We can't do it in our own unique way. We got to follow this fine line in order to succeed. And that entire pipeline isn't even tailored to us and our needs and our wants and our own personal desires. So it does make it very difficult when your whole life you're being told to act a certain way, look a certain way, live a certain way, and it doesn't really reflect who we are. We're all different. So yeah, we're Black, we're part of the
Mhm.
Black community, but we're all different. We're all unique. And I think that's another thing that's always been hard for me is trying to, find myself because it's always, oh, well, Black people are ghetto, Black people are this. Like, we know we're already stereotyped, and we try to go against that stereotype in order to seem more corporate and things like that, when we don't have to be either or. We don't have to be either or. We can
Right.
try to
Why not
fall
have a
into,
balance?
yeah. And that's why for me I've always found it to be very like weird to try and be something that I'm not, and then try to fit in with the Black community, but the Black community's got their own, I don't know, it's weird because it seems like they have their own level of acceptance. Like, oh, if you like this type of music or if you watch this type of stuff, then I don't consider you to be Black. And it's real
Mhm.
confusing
It's
because,
like a scale of Blackness, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
like
it's
that
like a scale of Blackness. I agree. I agree with
because
you.
I'm
I
Black.
don't like that either.
I'm Black
Either
as
you
hell. It
Black or
doesn't
you
matter
not.
what. Like, it doesn't matter what I do. Like, it's like the Black people won't accept you, the white people won't accept you if you fall into a category where you're doing something a little bit differently. Like, being spiritual isn't even seen as a Black thing. It's seen as a, I don't even know. I don't even
You're
know if
right,
people,
I don't know what it's
because
seen
people will
as.
really try to consider it to be, oh, you're worshiping Satan, or you're doing this, or you're doing that. So it's all over the place with that. But it's just something that we are naturally. We're naturally spiritual. So doesn't have a race. It doesn't have a race to it. And I think with that, it makes it very hard to stand in your power when you don't even know what your power consists of. And I think that's why we've been so conditioned to act a certain way and live a certain way so that we're taken away from our natural state of being. And I think with living a soft life, it really does take a lot of, self-reflecting and healing and so many other things. But our community isn't, I don't know. I see a lot of people are open to healing, and a lot of people are, taking the proper steps to, bettering themselves, things like that. But it's something that's frowned upon a lot of the times. Therapy is frowned upon, or just different healing methods, but
And why do you think that is?
I think a big part of it for us is that we've gone through so much. We've gone
Yeah.
through a lot for generations. And I think that it's not really easy to go to somebody to talk about our problems when we were never really given that, with
Mhm.
slavery and things like that. We didn't have that freedom to express ourselves. So I think that now sometimes the way we express ourselves is, through anger, or just off of impulse, but it's never really coming from, a genuine place because we're taught to cover it up. We're taught to, oh, don't speak up, don't open up about your feelings. You open up about your
Mhm.
feelings, you're weak. So we're always depicted as the people that have to be the strongest when we hurt too, we get sad too, we get angry too. And when we express that, we're not looked at as human. We're looked at as, oh, well, suck it up. Everybody goes through something. Or,
Yeah.
even in our own homes, we're not given a safe space to speak up. Um,
Mm.
and I think
Girl,
that
that's
that
a
makes
word
it
right
real
there.
hard. Yeah, it makes it really hard because especially for men, and men get it the worst because they have to be strong for their family. They gotta, provide. They have to do this. So we're basically setting our children up to just be brick walls, but just
Yeah.
because it's convenient and it's, not get nobody's getting in the way of this and no one's getting in the way of that. But I think it's important that we, do learn how important it is to express ourselves, and express our frustrations and so on and so forth, so that we can get rid of what's bothering us and align more with what we actually are trying to bring into our lives. But it's a work in progress. I always tell myself, we're doing a lot better than we could be doing. Um, so I think that within the Black community, we're making a lot of progress. There's a lot of stuff that I'm learning now that I didn't even know about us. Like, there's just so much that was taken from us, And I
Oh,
think that,
absolutely.
as we grow and as information just continues to fall from the sky, we get better. And I think that's really all it takes is, more education. Honestly, proper education, because I know in school for me, there's a lot of stuff that I'm learning now about Africa and about, my people. I didn't get that I didn't get that knowledge in school. That was something that was very spoon-fed, like, "Oh, we're gonna talk about slavery, that's it." Um, but there's
And
more
now they
layers
don't
to
even want to
us.
talk about it.
Right. But when we
Yeah, now
bring it
the
up, we
little
gotta
bit that we did have in the books and stuff like that, they trying to take out. So I
mm,
mean, just completely, kind of like whitewashing all of history. That
right.
ain't if it's if whatever the history that is not white history, they pretty much are trying to wash it out of being taught in
Mhm.
schools. And so, like you said, we wish we would have had all that, but now it's about to get even harder for them because they're gonna really have to go out there and kind of like do the research for themselves,
Mhm.
and we know that could be a great thing, but it could also be a dangerous thing because it's so much stuff out here.
Right.
And it could be hard to kind of decipher between what's true and what's not.
Mhm.
So, you right, they're gonna have to be dedicated
Right.
to really finding the history and combing through the history and understanding what's what,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know.
That's a big thing. It's really big, and it's unfortunate because you see so many other groups of people that know their heritage, they know it, they wear it proudly, and for us, it was taken from us. Our language was taken from us. Our beliefs are
Mhm.
taken from us and kind of stripped down to nothing and just kind of having to build off of what they throw at our way, and what
Mhm.
they make us believe about ourselves. So it is gonna take a lot for us, but I think the more we continue to exchange information, I'm sure people are out here making books, as we speak,
Yeah.
or even textbooks. But I think it's one of those things where we gotta learn to stick together more, rather than it being on certain situations or topics. Whereas, talking about these shootings or whatever could be going on in the world when we got to stick together, period, regardless of
Right,
what's
right.
going on. We got to make it our mission to stand together as a people because they want us to be separated and divided because it plays into their little game or whatever
Narrative.
it is.
Yeah.
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 Um, I love that we're
And I
on this
mean, it's
subject.
smart. It's
Yeah.
smart because if
Yeah.
you can create a division, that means that you now have mental control. And the bigger a division that you create, meaning, I'm talking like masses,
Hmm.
you know, that's more minds that you're controlling. And then you just get a domino effect at that
Right.
after that point.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, it's horrible, but that's why I tell people now, it's more than one way to skin a cat, you know.
Hmm.
And I think that, like you said, it's important for us to come together so that we can discuss and pull those ways together
Right.
and it not necessarily have to come from a dangerous, a physically dangerous place at least, you know. Um, because that's another thing that I feel like the world kind of expects from Black people to be angry, to be wild, to be physically dangerous and hurtful and harmful and stuff like that. But they don't expect us to skin a cat differently and use our minds, to use our
Right.
words, to use our concepts, right? To have the knowledge and the wisdom, you know, to pick up on their concepts and use it for our betterment.
Right.
I mean, they do it every day. I'm
Come
just
on now.
saying. I'm just saying. And I'm gonna leave
That's a
that right
fact.
there. They do it
That's a
every
fact.
day.
Yeah, they do. And it goes over our heads because it's just kind of so it's like we get to a point where you're used to shit and you don't peep it because it's like, oh well, this is normal, but normal is not right. Normal does not have to be right. Just like I have to come to the conclusion that comfortability isn't good either sometimes. Because I like to
Mhm.
be comfortable. I'm a Taurus moon, so being
Oh,
comfortable
Lord.
is
Yeah,
everything
I
to
already
me.
know. You love
It's
comfort. Love,
everything to
love, love
me, especially when
comfort.
my emotions are all over the place. Best believe I'm doing something that I probably shouldn't be doing, but I'm only doing it because what else?
Yeah,
What else am
because
I
you
gonna
and your
do?
feelings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
You
just
want to
within
be.
society, aside
Mhm.
from the Black community, just us as a whole, like a lot of stuff that we're tolerating is normal. It's just normal. We not Some people don't even question anything because it's kind of like, well, this is how the world's set up. But not realizing we as a people, we hold so much power and so much control, but we don't realize that because you're giving it over
Mhm.
to
Giving it
the
away.
leader. So yeah, I feel
Mhm.
like when it comes to living a soft life, you got to call your power back because if you're trying to live
Oh,
in
yes.
your truth, you got to realize what your truth is. You got to get down to the
You got to
fine
realize who
details.
you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. You got to realize who you are. You got to be able to stand in front of the mirror and face yourself.
Hmm.
You gotta be able to, as I tell my clients, sit in a room by yourself, sit in the four walls and face your demons.
Hmm.
You gotta be able to face you.
Right.
Because as long as you run away from you, I mean, at some point you're just gonna circle back around to you. But
Mhm.
as the more that the longer you take to circle back to you, the more you got to live a non-soft life because you
Mhm.
constantly on the go, you constantly on the run, you constantly trying to cope with X, Y, and Z in a
Mhm.
complete opposite way that you should be.
Right.
And you know, I know right now in our culture and in this where we in Gen X, no, we in Gen Z, right? We might
Mhm.
be out of Gen Z, I don't
I'm
know,
in Gen
but
X now, but I don't even know no
well,
more.
whatever this current whatever this current generation is, and even part of our generation, going some of the millennials,
Right.
um so I see so many of us um living life fake, you know.
Ooh, 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 ooh.
Um and that's
Yes,
not a soft life.
it's
You get what
not.
I'm saying?
Right.
Living life fake and we oh I'm just out here having fun. I'm living life, but you drinking your life away.
Yeah.
You smoking your life away. You sexing your life away.
Mhm.
In the same habitual patterns every single day.
Right.
And right now the culture is or the social norm is that if you're not doing those things, then you're not living. You're not normal. You're not cool.
Right.
You're missing out. But it's like, am I really? What am I missing out on? I'm missing out on being blacked out every night.
Having to
I'm missing
see
out on throwing money
like
away in the
what?
club and on these bottles and the sections and
Right.
all of that. And I mean, the STD rate is higher than it's ever been right now. You know what I'm saying?
It's
What am I
crazy.
missing out on? I ain't missing out on shit. If
Right.
anything, I'm probably doing a lot better, to be
Yeah.
honest. You
Because
know,
it's like when you're doing all that, who are you really living for? You're not really living for yourself because is that
you
what
ain't
you
living
want
for nobody.
as an individual? You want to just do what
Baby,
everybody else is doing?
they going nowhere fast, and that's the problem. They going nowhere fast. But it's confused with oh well, this is living life. You should have fun, but it's like, is that the only idea and concept and perspective that you have of fun?
Right.
Because not what I've seen, just even in my peers, unfortunately, just even in my peers, is like this is your perspective and concept of fun, but baby, you're using it as a coping mechanism,
Right. It's an
and you're
escape.
not dealing with exactly escapism. You're not dealing with shit at all.
Right.
You constantly running, 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 and running, and still not dealing with it. And it's like Some of us already done hit 30. Some of us is knocking on 30.
Yeah.
How much longer are we gonna keep escaping? How much longer are we gonna keep running? That I mean, listen.
Mm,
Questions that need answers that
right.
nobody has been able to answer me yet.
Yeah. That's the one.
So, and that's why like I be confused when I hear my peers be like, oh, I want to live a soft life with the but it's like you don't even want to take 10 minutes out your day and just look in the mirror at yourself and
Right.
be honest. Whether it mean you cry, whether it mean you scream, whether it mean you
Mhm.
smile,
Right.
whether it mean you hug yourself, you whatever it is, you won't even take that much time.
Mhm.
Which is not surprising because half these damn people don't even hydrate. So, there's that.
And that's so
On
important.
that note.
That is so important. I was thinking about some water
Right.
too. I'm like, I have no water in here, but it's cool. I got a whole little case I can break into. Um, but yeah, it's the important things that we overlook. And I think that within our society, the only important things is being an adult is just taking care of your bills. That's it, that's
Yeah.
all. Those responsibilities and things like that. You could throw them in there, but
Mhm.
aside from that, nobody's checking on their mental health. Nobody's
Mm-mm.
checking on their sexual health. Like, no one's really looking into the things that need the real attention. Like, your
Yeah, they're
bills are
not
gonna be
into their
paid. You work in a
well-being.
job, your bills are gonna be paid, but
Mhm.
who are you when you're not at work? Who are you when you're not at the club? Who are you when you're not in
Mhm.
somebody's bed? Like, who are you when you're not in these settings that
Yeah.
are only reflecting you back to you? So
Yeah.
even when you go out, this is the whole bunch of people that are escaping all in one space and
Low
turning up
vibration.
and throwing drinks, fighting. Like, it gets to a point where the people that do stay at home are boring and they don't want to go
Mhm.
out. But it's like some people don't like going out. Some people don't like loud spaces. I know for me, I don't like anything loud. Like, I can't do it. I don't mind going to a
That's
party
that
here and there,
Taurus moon, y'all.
but I can't
Too
do it.
comfortable.
I swear, I just rather be in my bed, chilling, doing me. Like, I'm very big on like having sleepovers, like friend stuff, like having
Yeah.
friends all in one space. But being at a party with people that I don't know, like a lot of these people just drunk as hell, high as
Yeah.
hell. Like,
Mhm.
people are just sad because you see a lot
And
of
don't
people just
remember
throwing their
shit.
lives away. Like,
Yeah.
young as hell. Like, I remember being in
Mhm.
high school and there'd be people at school drinking. Like, I'm just like,
Mhm.
what are we going through as a collective to a point where nobody wants to be present, nobody wants to be still, nobody wants to do anything other than run. And I think it's just a concept that we've been conditioned into. It's kind of been beaten into us to, you know, take care of our responsibilities, do this. But we don't look at ourselves as a responsibility. We don't look at our needs
Mhm.
and wants or even our desires as a responsibility. We just see it as, bills and we're at home with our parents, chores need to be done, but nobody's reminding us to check in with ourselves. Nobody's reminding us to build a relationship with ourselves. So when we do get older, you got people that are like, oh, you don't need to be in a relationship until you love yourself. But no one was teaching me that when I was growing up. Nobody was teaching me how
Right.
to how to love myself growing up. So the
That's
resources and
also
tools
what
weren't
they
there.
didn't have. Right. That's
Exactly.
also what they didn't have. So it wasn't, you know, I grew up in a Baptist household.
Hmm.
And to say that you depressed or you sad or whatever, it's just like that's because you need to get closer to Jesus,
Yeah.
or you need to go pray. You ain't been praying enough, or you wasn't paying attention in church Sunday. You ain't go to Sunday. It's always something like that. It was never
Right.
like, okay, well, what's going on? And even if it was a what's going on, it was it wasn't it wasn't really a genuine
Hmm.
question to help. It was a
Right.
question to project,
Yeah.
essentially. So, you know, I get it.
Hmm.
And that's why, like, I've actively been on my journey for like 8, 9 years now.
Mhm.
and I wasn't where I was at today, even last year.
Right.
So it definitely does take a lot of time because you have to decondition all of those conditionings or a lot of those conditionings that you've been seeing and soaking up like a sponge since you was 2,
Right.
you know? So, um, that's why I'm like, I don't wanna live a hard life. I came up living a hard life. I used to live a very hard life. I've
Mm.
watched my mama live a hard life, my people live a hard life. I don't want to be in the same misery that they're in.
Right.
I don't wanna be in that same hole, um, because that's not living. Because like you said, it's more to just getting up, going to work, making some money to pay the bills.
Mhm.
Like you said, even in that, how's your mental health? How's your emotional health? How's your spiritual health?
Right.
How is your physical health?
Yeah.
You know
For
what I'm
real.
saying? Seriously, how is your physical health? Because a lot of us ain't taking care of ourselves physically.
Right.
Ain't nobody doing no exercise, child. If ain't nobody drinking no water, but I mean they guzzling down some Hennessy, some
Yes.
cognac,
And
some
oh,
Casamigos, and whatever the hell else they got
and
out here
Whitney.
now. You see what I'm saying? See what I'm saying?
It's
And then you
crazy.
you got them hitting the slopes, child, and everybody is doing drugs and
Yeah.
everything under the damn sun, and nobody
Right.
eats even semi clean. It's all about instant gratification right now in
Yep.
our society. And how can you live a soft life with instant gratification?
Yeah, because if you want to live a soft life, you're gonna have to be patient. So that's a big part of it, especially if you're
Patient.
calling in, abundance and calling in your dream job and calling in your dream partner and all that. If you're calling all that, and you're gonna have to be patient because it's not gonna come with a snap of a finger. This is not Fairly Odd Parents. So
Mm-mm,
things are not going to pop up instantly. And I think one of the reasons why is because God's always testing us. And I think that
definitely.
with that, it's like, do you really want this thing? You say you want it so bad. Do you really want it? Are you
Hmm.
willing to wait for it? Are you willing to, put in some effort for whatever it is? Um, so with living a soft life, you gotta have your balance because if you're constantly just waiting, 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 you're never gonna get anything and you're not gonna get anywhere because the work starts within and then
Hmm.
it starts to, become so many different, tasks and lessons that we have to learn. So living a soft life, it ain't easy, but it's
Mm-mm,
beneficial and it becomes
definitely.
easier over time. And I think a lot of people will I guess look at it as, oh, I guess they see it as easy on the outside of it, but it's not really that easy. Like it takes a lot
Hmm.
of, undoing and a lot of
Hmm.
reflecting and a lot of, cleansing and so many other things. So when people assume, um, they're only they're only psyching themselves out of something that could be potentially great. And I think if, we were all granted the opportunity to live a soft life, we would choose that over living a hard life. So I think
Hmm.
that living a hard life has just kind of been, a repeating cycle from generation to generation to
Oh,
generation
absolutely.
that,
It's very
you know,
traumatic.
so
Very
it's
traumatic.
such a important thing to at least stop and be like, okay, do I really want to live like this? Because I don't have to. We do not
Right.
have to live the way that we've been living, the way we've been programmed to live. But that's why there's a movie called Free Guy, and he's like this NPC in a game, but he breaks out of his coding. So it makes me think of that. Like we are so conditioned to live a certain way, act a certain way. We're repeating these daily cycles, like same thing every single day. And we don't stop to think, do I really want to keep doing this? Like, does this even feel
Right.
good to me? Like, we don't think to do that. But I know for me, at one point, I just broke down. I was like, God, please. I'm like, God, please. I can't keep doing this no more. Like,
Right.
whatever it is that needs to be removed from my life, please remove it. Like, I can't do it no more. So, it takes those moments where you're tired and you're fed up with your current situation to make
Mm.
those changes. Um, And that's how I like to see it. We hit rock bottom, and that only leads us to the top. So, when you
Definitely.
have those moments, don't look at it as a whole, well, I guess I'm gonna just keep giving up and not gonna
Yeah,
try.
the whole woe is me. Nah,
Yeah,
it's
like
the perfect opportunity because, like you said, you can't go no can't go no further down. You could
exactly.
only go up. And if you
Mm-hmm.
feel like that you're going any further down, that's literally in your imagination because you can't go
Mm-hmm.
no further down.
Right.
You can only go up.
Thanks.
But as you said earlier, and not that I be reading the Bible like that, child, but I do know there's a verse in there that says faith without works is dead.
Mm-hmm.
So, like you said, we can want a lot of things, and even if we hit rock bottom, and we have the faith the size of a mustard seed, as my grandma used to say.
Mm-hmm.
You still have to put in some type of work. You still
Yeah.
got to meet God halfway.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like you can't expect God to do everything for you and then just drop it in your lap and be like, "All right, G, there you go."
Right.
Nah, you still got to put in. You have to what they call actively wait. You
Right.
still have to do things. You still
Mm-hmm.
have to be in the gym training.
Right.
You don't. The NBA players don't just wake up, and be like, "Oh, we got a game on Saturday. Okay, cool, bet." And they don't come to no practices and show up on
Right.
Saturday and play a good game. Nah, they in the gym every day
Every day.
for hours.
Yeah.
They working out 2-3 times a day minimally. You know what I'm saying? They training even when they ain't at training.
Mm-hmm.
They go home and they train.
Right.
So it's like they ain't got to the pot yet, but they're
Mhm.
actively waiting while they're making their way there.
Right.
They're conditioning themselves, they're
Mhm.
training, they're working on themselves, they're grooming themselves to be prepared and to be ready for what they said they wanted or what they've committed to or said to have committed to. So,
Mhm.
I definitely agree. We can't. It's definitely more to life than just working, just getting up
Yeah.
and going to work every day. But we all have aspirations outside of that.
Mhm.
Because we are human beings, and we're not just robots.
Right.
um, but for those things outside of that, outside of working, and even in that, it's still a question of how are you grooming yourself? How are you conditioning yourself?
Mhm.
Even when it comes down to relationships and living a soft life, how are you deconditioning, and then also how are you conditioning and grooming yourself for that type of lifestyle?
Right.
Because it starts with you, not when you get with somebody. The
Mhm.
work starts before you get with somebody.
Right. Come on
Because if
now.
the work start when you get with somebody, oh baby, that you up a creek without a paddle. That train ain't going nowhere. Okay, it's a
Be
sitting
sitting there
train.
working.
Right. The horn and everything is blowing, but the train ain't going nowhere because no
Mhm.
one has done any work. So no
Yeah.
one knows what we're doing.
Yeah. And then you start
Right?
to attract people that's in that same boat. So the both of y'all just in there looking like, what the fuck? What are we
Exactly.
here for?
And exactly. So like today, I'm glad you said that about attracting people.
Mhm.
Um, I was on the way to class today earlier this morning, and I was thinking, about attraction and
Mhm.
certain people and whatnot. And it's like you're gonna always attract something in somebody because
Right.
we all hold frequency. We all hold energy. But what you're going to attract is whatever frequency you're on,
Mhm.
right? So the question isn't, oh, when am I going to attract Mrs. Right, Mr. Right? Well, no, no, no.
Yeah.
It's about what level, what frequency are you on,
Mhm.
and what level and frequency is Mr. Right, Mrs. Right that you would ideally want them to be on. That's what you need to be looking at. That's what you need to be asking yourself, not when you're going to attract them. You're going to attract them when you level up to that level.
Right.
So
Yeah.
the real question is, what level is that? What do I need to
Exactly.
do to groom and decondition and whatever else that I need to do to get to that level so that I am prepared. Because if it's break it down even simpler. How many people out here say, "Oh man, I wish I had $1 million." If you had $1 million right now, do you know exactly what you would do with it? Do you
Mm,
know exactly how you would invest it? We so
that's
conditioned to hearing that, oh, if I had $1 million, if you had $1 million, what? What would you do with it?
right.
How would you invest it? What would you give back? What would you give yourself? And
Mhm.
I mean outside of material facets, right?
Right.
Outside of let me go buy me a McLaren, let me go buy me a Lambo. No, outside of that,
Mhm.
what would you do? What would you do with it? Most people can't answer that question. They just
Yeah.
know, oh, if I had $1 million, that's as far as they didn't
Imma
went.
spend it on this, Imma spend it on that, Imma buy this, Imma
Exactly.
buy that.
So it's like we be asking for this type of stuff and we be asking for all these things, but it's like, okay, if the universe, if God granted it to us right now, today, in this moment, would you even have the capacity to withstand it?
Right.
Majority of people know.
Mhm.
They would fucking fumble it.
Oh, yeah.
They will fumble it, okay? It'll be a whole file. They will fumble it. So, I think, when it comes down to living a soft life, you definitely have to get clear about who you are,
Mhm.
where you are, and what you want.
Exactly.
Because when you can get clear about those three things, then you can, excuse me, you can evolve and you can make some adjustments where you need to make them so that you can get there.
Right.
But as long as you're not clear about those three things, what you doing?
Yeah. Cause like, if you don't know what you want, ain't nobody finna come in and figure it out for you. You have to know. You gotta
Exactly.
know. At least start with something. Like, you ain't gotta
You
have
gotta
it all
start
figured out
somewhere.
right here and now, but where are we
Mhm.
starting with? What is our next step in a sense? If you can't figure that out, then you need to figure out what your next step's going to be, in finding it, figuring it out. Because a lot of us, some people's parents don't support their dreams. You got
Mhm.
some people that don't even have dreams because they never got a chance to dream as children. So there's so many different alternatives to why certain people aren't living a specific way, but it's not up to our parents no more. It's up to us. A lot of us are adults now. We can't keep using the
Right.
same old, oh, well, my parent now. You can
Mhm.
figure out yourself now.
And
You got
so
a
many
phone.
people use that excuse. Oh, well, I was raised like my mama didn't, or my mom and daddy didn't have it. That was then, baby.
Yeah,
Really, that stopped when you was 18, if we being
right.
honest. You and but a lot of y'all is like I said, knocking on 30. Or very close to knocking on 30. Some people
Mhm.
are already there, and it's just like you can't keep using that as a crutch anymore
Right.
because you are responsible for you, nobody else. You
Mhm.
ain't responsible for nobody else in this world but you.
Yeah.
You know, when it's all said and done, and God was to ask us like, okay, well, what did you do in this particular situation? It God isn't asking, well, what did Tom, Dick, and Harry do?
Right.
God is asking, what did you do
Exactly.
in this situation? So you're only responsible for you,
Exactly. Yeah.
nobody else.
Yep. And I
Nobody
learned
else.
that so fast. When I had started my healing journey, it was a lot of it was my parents, my parents, my parents. But after that, after I, reflected on my parents and my relationship with them and the dynamic, it was all about me. Are we going to
Mm,
keep, you know, adding to these, I guess these bad habits.
Mhm.
Or what are we going to do now as an adult? What do I have to do to make my life easier? What do I have to do to make myself happier? Because no one's coming in and doing these things for us. We have to be actively
Mhm.
working on self.
Mhm.
Otherwise, the results we're looking for aren't going to be, there for us when we're waiting on them. We have
Come
to
on,
make sure we're
somebody.
taking that time out to focus on
Mhm.
ourselves. And, I see this a lot in the people that come to me for help is that a lot of us are carrying everybody else's shit.
Except
And
for ours.
yeah, like I'm
And
so
that's the
glad that I started
problem.
healing a little bit earlier in my life because if I was in my mid 20s or late 30s or whatever, I wouldn't be even thinking about healing. I wouldn't be thinking about it. A lot of people nowadays are just kind of surpassed that point where they're just like, well, gotta get my retirement together, gotta get this together,
Yep. Yep.
forgetting that there's so much within them that they haven't even met. They haven't even been met with their anger, haven't even been met with their
Girl.
depression, their anxiety, their fears, their all of that is just a blur because everything it's the
Exactly.
outside world that a lot of people are fighting against. You got the people that are healing, it's like me versus me when you healing, and then when you're
Mhm.
not, it's you versus everything and everybody
Everything
else.
else.
And it's one of those things where I'm grateful that I took that opportunity to, start healing and even trying therapy out just to see like, can I benefit? Um, and surprisingly I did, but it's one of those things where not everybody is into it, and I get that because I've had therapists in the past that I couldn't talk to because first of all, I didn't even know what was wrong. I don't even know what was wrong with me. So it does take, time and patience to open up.
Right.
But I think it's all about you wanting to, because if you don't want to, you don't want to express the things that are more dark, then it's hard to heal from it. If you don't want to talk about it, it's not really going to make it easier on you to try healing it. But there are different ways to express yourself. So, for me, I like to, paint. And I know books and reading is also very helpful for people that aren't really big on like human interactions when it comes to, undoing things. But there's so many alternatives. And that's why I always like keep in my head that there's no excuse, just
Right.
solutions. So I always keep that in mind because the more I focus on, oh, well, I can't, or oh, well, this ain't gonna work, then I'm only pulling myself away from the actual possibilities.
Mhm.
So it's so important to focus more on the solutions than the problem because the problem is always gonna
Exactly.
be there.
Because exactly, gonna always be there. And the minute that you say, I can't this and I can't that, I don't have to do excuses
Yeah,
because baby, where the, where there ain't no way, there is a way.
right.
Okay. In something, some kind of way. And it might be a thin strand of hair, but it's a way.
Mm-hmm.
And you just have to bet on you. You have
Yeah,
to bet on you and grab that little piece of thin strand if that's the last thing you do.
right.
Because if not you, then who? If
Oh,
not
literally.
you, then who? I mean, let me know. If not you, then who? And
Right.
I'm glad you said what you said about the therapy thing because, like, I always recommend people to go to therapy.
Mm-hmm.
At least try it out.
Yeah.
But I'm also very much aware that not every therapist meshes well with every patient or every
Mm-hmm.
client, right?
Right.
And that's I think that is more so the biggest roadblock that people run into.
Mm-hmm.
And then they kind of just shy away from it. They never want to try it again. They never want to go down that road again because, well, they didn't understand me, or
Mm-hmm.
you know, they just kept asking me the same old stupid questions, or we just wasn't getting whatever, it
Right.
was. But I get it. I mean, I was once there.
Mhm,
Um, and I think that for our community, it's important to have the representation for
mhm.
sure.
Yeah, that's a big
I
one.
don't think that is enough representation out there for us. It's
Yeah,
really not. I mean, there are a lot, but it's not enough.
yeah, right.
Because we got a lot we got a lot that we riding on.
Mhm.
Not just our trauma from this lifetime, but we riding on minimally all the way back to slavery days,
Right.
400 years worth of trauma that we riding on.
Yeah.
And um the average psychologist or psychiatrist, they ain't one of us. They
Right.
ain't riding on that same they ain't riding on that same level.
Mhm. Yep.
And it's gonna, they're very few far in between to find one that can understand and that could even semi empathize with
Mhm.
you in that vulnerable space,
Right.
right? So, I think because like you were saying, when people come to you for help and whatnot, same thing here. I see the pattern of how, like, the things that we're dealing with, and I might channel or whatever, and I'm like, this I feel like this comes from your father or or your mother, whatever the case may be.
Mhm.
You see how it's passed down, and then as they
Right.
open up and they talk about themselves, not Sally that ain't responding to him, and no, just talk about him or just talk about her. They open up that vulnerable space,
Right.
right? And then I hold space for them, and you see how this is a whole generational thing. It's a whole traumatic thing that they was born into, and then
Mhm.
also grew into,
Right.
and taught and shown continuously, and sometimes still being shown to this day,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, I think therapy is definitely a good thing, but I know that options aren't always the best options, but
Right.
I'm thankful for people like you, people like me or whatever, where we can hold space for people like that,
Mhm.
and be a vessel into helping them in that moment or whatever it is,
Yeah.
because it's needed. And I feel like it's good for the community.
Mhm.
Me and you, we might not be able to help the entire world, but each one counts,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Because, let's say one person is helped, and they take that and they pass it on, and they help
Mhm.
somebody else, and then that person helps somebody else. So
Right.
it's like a chain effect, a domino effect.
Exactly.
So it's got to start somewhere.
Right.
It
Yeah.
got to start somewhere. So I I'm with you on that. I'm
Yeah.
with you on that. And for anybody listening to this, definitely try therapy. You know, don't don't knock it till you try it. And
Mhm.
honestly, therapy is finding a therapist is literally like finding your person. Your first therapist might not be the one. You might have to go through 5 different therapists before you find your one.
Right.
It's almost like dating.
Yeah.
It's almost like dating, to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
you kind of got to build a relationship, because you don't necessarily know if the therapist is going to, like, be your one on your first session.
Encounter,
Your
right.
first session is just formalities. That's
Mhm.
paperwork. That's what's your name? What do you do for a living? It's
Right.
formalities. It ain't even getting to the nitty gritty of anything.
Mhm. Right.
So,
Yeah. I love that you
you
said that
know.
like that because, for a lot of people, they think it's a one and done situation, like,
It's
you
not.
go in
Therapy
and
is not a one and done situation. Therapy is really like a lifelong, lifetime practice.
Right.
You know, um, you you have to, and I was just telling somebody else this too. You know, people go to therapy just to say they went to therapy.
Yeah.
and then be like, "Oh, I tried therapy and it didn't work." No, you didn't actually try therapy.
Yeah.
You went to say that you went, and you expected something magical to just plop in your lap.
Right. Like it's just gonna
But
be
therapy is a tool, and it's just like a hammer. If you want to hang a picture on a wall, it ain't gonna hang itself. You got to pick up the hammer and actually hammer the nail in there.
right.
So when you go to therapy, you actually have to use therapy as a tool and a resource. You
Mhm.
can't just go in there and just sit and not
Right.
actively participate. You can't
Exactly.
just go in there and listen and then give you, some activities and exercises and stuff to do um at home, at home therapy, and you never do them,
Mhm.
right? You have to actually use the therapy, not just show up to the therapy.
Right.
It's not just a one and done type deal.
Mhm.
You can't expect results after going once. You can't even expect major. I mean, some people do, but you can't expect even major or dented results after going a month. Because sometimes you can
Right.
only go to therapy, due to cost and budget and stuff like that. You
Mhm.
can only go to therapy maybe once a month or
Yeah.
or twice a month. So it takes repetition. It takes it becoming part of your lifestyle, part
Mhm.
of your regimen. It's definitely not a one and done thing.
It's not. And as somebody that's been going for the past 2 years, like, I don't necessarily stress it to people because there's so many different forms of therapy, but I think it's one of those things where if you give yourself the opportunity to actually use this tool, and use it right, because I feel like a lot of people will just
Mhm.
go and expect the therapist to know what's going on with them, but,
Mhm.
it's a work in progress, and I think the more we allow ourselves to open up, the more our therapist can actually give us, tools to use and resources and things like that, and for me, I'm an overthinker, so my therapist will always, like, send me, like, these, he calls them cognitive distortions, so these are, like,
Mm.
negative thinking
Yeah.
patterns that we typically fall into. So he had sent me, like, a little chart for it and also, like, a little, I don't even know what you would call it, but basically where I write, I'm kinda logging it in, as
Mhm.
I do these things, as these things come up, so it's just so much that we don't even know about that gets shared, throughout therapy, and I think it's one of those things where we're heard and, our experiences are validated, our emotions are validated, like, it's the nurturing that we needed from our mothers that we didn't really
Yes.
get, you know? Didn't
Yes.
really get that.
And you hit it right on the nail, and that's why I'm currently rebranding, but like in my business, I'm starting to implement what I call like hood therapy
Mhm. I
because
love that.
thank you, because after like studying people and even just introspecting with myself at the beginning and end of the day, people want a few things. They
Mhm.
want to feel, and it might not even be true, but we would like to think that it's true, right? But people
Right.
want to feel that they are understood. People
Mhm.
want to feel that they are heard. Most importantly, that's number one. People want to feel that they are heard.
Right.
They might be wrong, they might be right, but they
Yeah.
want to feel that they are heard.
Mhm.
Not just, okay, yeah, okay, girl. No, they want to like that undivided attention and to feel heard, to be sympathized and empathized with,
Mhm.
even if they wrong, even if they right.
Right.
Because like you said, a lot of us didn't get that in our childhood from
Yeah.
our parents, from our daddy, from our mama, or whoever it was that might have raised us, right?
Mhm.
Or maybe nobody raised us. Maybe the streets
Yeah,
raised
that's
us, and
that's a
that's an
that's
even
another
bigger
one.
conversation.
Yeah,
So it's
and that's what
like,
a lot of us go through too. A lot of us
yes, yes. And
gotta
so
figure it
that's a
out.
big thing. Like people want to be heard. People want to be loved on,
Right.
right? People want to know like they just not out here in the wind by themselves.
Right. Yeah.
Even though it might feel like it. Because I
Mhm.
know a lot of us feel that way. I feel that way sometimes, like,
Yeah.
damn, what's going on?
Right.
But that's in psychologically in the brain, scientifically proven, people really just want to feel and know that they're heard and that they understood.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. That's such a big thing too, because in society, even I'm gonna just use Kanye West as an example because
Oh Lord.
everybody's at this man's throat right now. Um,
Yo, Gemini twin.
and oh God, far from that, slut. Far from it. See,
I
Gemini
hope
men a
so.
different breed. They a different breed.
Girl, I said the
Um,
same thing about Scorpio man, but go ahead.
but just even using him as an example, like probably not the greatest example to use, but even then, we're humans at the end of the day. And whether we, like you said, whether we say something is right or wrong or perceived in the light or not perceived in the light, like I think we still have to extend some grace to those around us, because you'll have people that are always angry and
Yeah,
nobody wants to listen to you. You always angry. But that
yeah,
anger is just sadness that hasn't been
yeah. It's a
expressed, you
symptom.
know?
It's a symptom.
And
Yeah.
I think that it's so important that we do hear those around us and we do let those people around us express themselves, even if it's not how we would express ourselves or it's not common, or it's weird. When we try to force people to express the way we want them to express, then it kind of hinders them from being themselves. And, this
Hmm.
day and age, people are bullied for being themselves. People are ridiculed for having speech impediments or, having to
Hmm.
communicate in different ways. Like something that pisses me off, because I'll be on TikTok sometimes and, the deaf community, I follow a lot of people within the deaf community
Right,
because I
right.
just I just love how they continue to do their thing and don't worry about what nobody else has to say. Like their comebacks, I
Hmm.
love them. I live for it. I live for it. And I hate to see people in the comments like, oh, you're dead, and try to be funny because it's like these are people that struggle with something that you don't have to struggle with. You don't have to go through this. You don't have to endure this. And this could be used in so many different, contexts. You got people that are disabled, can't walk. You got people that can't speak or can't see. So when you don't allow them to express themselves, you don't get insight into that experience because you're already knocking it. You're already trying to judge it before you even get to understand, okay, why does
Yep.
this person think this way? Why is this person talking this way? Why is this person speaking out of anger? Why is this person, like Kanye West, speaking out of
Hmm.
ignorance and, just spewing a bunch of negativity onto the world? Like, why is that? We tend to judge it before we question it and try to get to a more, understanding, rather than just, oh, I'm just gonna judge you because you said something I don't agree with, or because this or that, because we're not always gonna agree. We're not always gonna see things the same. So when we have these spaces and have these discussions and, do things as we grow, it helps us understand so much more, not only about those around us, but ourselves, because sometimes people are projecting something that we hold within ourselves and we don't like it. We don't like it. We like, nah, they
Girl, tell
acting a
me
little
about
too
it.
much like me, or they acting like a
Hmm.
part of me that I don't like, a
But
part of me
people
that
don't
I'm
want to
suppressing.
admit it.
Yeah,
People don't want to admit it.
they
Like,
really don't.
and that's all projection is.
Mm-hmm.
It's the things that you suppress so far, that you hide so far, that
Yeah.
you don't want anybody to see, you don't want anybody to hear, you don't want anybody to know. But the more that you resist, the more that it will persist. And that's
Yeah.
why projection happens,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's why a lot of people don't even, oh, I'm not doing that. You are, but you can't even see that you're doing it because that's how
Yeah.
much you're trying to suppress it.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yep.
how much you're trying to suppress it. But I totally agree with you. We definitely need to have more ears
Mm-hmm.
out here in the community because um too often we ask, well, what's wrong with her? What's wrong with him? And
Yeah.
not ask the correct questions like, what
Right.
happened to her? What happened to him?
Mm-hmm.
Rather than asking somebody what's wrong, ask them what happened.
Right.
Because 9 times out of 10, it's always something that happened,
Exactly. And
you
we would
know.
never know that because I guess with social media too, it makes people so comfortable with speaking on things they don't know nothing about. It makes people so
Girl,
comfortable with assuming and just kind of going with it or running with rumors and so on and so forth. And it's like the truth is just an afterthought nowadays because people will run with the rumor, people will run with misinformation, and then when they're met with the truth, it's a, "Oh, whatever, I don't believe that," because people will believe the lie so much that the truth means nothing, and I think that's
because the
why,
lies are juicier
that's true.
to
Sounds
them.
good. It's like, okay, okay, it may sound good, but it's
Mhm.
not the truth, and I think that where we're at now, it's like a lot of people are, trying to let their feelings overpower the truth. I
Mm,
feel this way, so everybody needs to feel this way when
mm-mm.
it don't work like that. It don't
It
work like that.
don't
And
it
I
don't
think
that
that
feeling is yours. It's not
right,
everybody else's. You might
exactly.
have that common feeling with some people, but that feeling is yours.
Exactly.
Completely yours. I agree.
Yeah, I think it's frustrating too because it's like you got people that will bully you because you don't feel the same
Mhm.
thing. Like let's
Girl, talk
relax.
about it.
Let's relax because a
Talk
lot of
about
people
it.
don't even know what they're feeling. And I think that's the biggest thing of all is that we got a lot of people walking around numb to
Mm,
everything. And people talk about like I'm Gen Z, so people will talk about us so much, but I remember seeing a video where she was saying like, we're the generation that was brought in with, 9/11, so we're already used to tragedies and we're basically trauma babies at this point because every day it's something on the news, it's something going on. And being brought into that, it's kind of like these things don't even affect us. Nothing affects us. We're just
no.
emotionless. We don't feel nothing. We're not able to hear nobody else because nobody was hearing us. So it's just kind of like this entangled energy that is motionless. We don't get to really do anything. We don't get to move the way we're trying to move because there's something in us that's not allowing us that space is not granting us the okay, you can do this because we're battling ourselves and don't even know it because there's things outside of us that we're trying to focus on. Got our people coming to us about their problems. Somebody need us for something. And we'll never get time to ourselves. And we do have time. That's the thing. We do have time. People kill me like, oh, I don't have time to do this. You do
No.
have
People
time. You
make
just need
time
to
for what
make
they
time.
wanna make. There you go.
Y'all
There
can go
you
to the
go.
club and party
Make
and
time for what you
turn
wanna make time
up.
for. And
But
that's why I tell people you gotta be, like, very, particular about what you spend your time on because that's the one thing in the world we cannot ever get back.
right.
You can't go to Walmart and be like, "I want a refund on October 6, 9:55 PM to the hour of 1:38." And you can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't
Can't.
do that. Once that time is gone, baby, it is gone.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Out the window. You just got to
Comple
figure.
Gone with the wind.
And that's why I always
Gone
advise
with the
myself
wind.
to be patient, be present, because
Mhm.
if I'm not living now, then I'm not living in the future either. And it just
Right.
goes to show I wasn't living in the past. So we either gonna make changes in the now or we just gonna it is what it is at that point. You just gonna
Yeah, you
be
just
doing
be out
whatever it is
there.
you've been doing. Um, and that's one of the things that helped me take back control over my life because
Mm,
when you're patient, you get to redo things, you get to try again, you get to learn all in the moment. And a lot of people are scatterbrained and are like you said earlier, we running from something like
mhm.
constantly running away from our fears, constantly running away from our pain and suffering and all of the above. So when you come to a place where you're sitting with yourself and you're meditating or you're journaling or you're crying or whatever it is, you're allowing yourself to be in this moment. You're allowing yourself to experience everything all at once, rather than thinking about, oh, well, this is what I'm gonna do tomorrow. This is what I'm gonna do next week. This is what I'm gonna do in 2 weeks or in 3 months. Like, what are you gonna do right now? Everybody's thinking about what they're gonna do at this time or that time because, like my mom used to always say, tomorrow's never promised.
Mm,
So if you're gonna do something, you better do it right now. If we're gonna do something, you
yeah.
better do it right here, right now,
Mm,
because you got the opportunity to. And I'm very impulsive at times, so I'll do things off a whim, like, oh well, I'm gonna do it because I said I was gonna do it, so let me do it here right now.
oh,
But
goodness.
sometimes I wait, and when
Yeah.
I wait, it creates a lot of consequences that I could have avoided had I, tackled whatever, prior. But that's where we learn, we learn from our mistakes. And I feel like the more we pay attention to ourselves and what we're doing, the more we get to learn what we would rather do. Because a lot of us will do what everybody else is doing. And the more you do that, the more you kind of feel like you have to because it's a norm and I've been doing this, so I got to, but don't really have to. You get stuck in that conditioning, you get stuck in that cycle, whereas you break that cycle by doing different things. Like maybe one Friday night you just take yourself out to dinner and do your own thing and relax, get you a drink, you know what I'm saying, call you an Uber to take you home or call a friend to take you home. Like,
Yeah.
I know for me, being around people, especially people that I don't know, it just I can't do it. I can't hang with it. It just doesn't make me feel good because I get very paranoid, and I'm like, I don't trust people too much.
Hmm.
Like, I don't really extend my trust like that. So when it comes to being out in, those settings, it's like you gotta think about what could happen, who's gonna do this, who's gonna do it, because anything can happen in those moments. Whereas you're in a, more secluded environment, it's not always going to be that. You don't always have to expect that being the said outcome. Because I know when I was in high school, I didn't really go to parties like that, but I hear about them. They're like, "Oh, they shot up this party." I'm like, "Well, I'm glad I stayed
See,
home. Glad I stayed
exactly, and that's
home."
how I was too. I was never really. I'm with you. I was never really the party girl. Every now and then, I
Yeah.
might have slid by a party or two, something like that. But for the most part, listen, I'm gonna catch y'all on the flip, because
Right.
like you said, the next day, man, the police was there. And see,
Yes.
I don't wanna. Nope. They were
Yeah.
shooting who? They start shooting for what? You don't
Right.
know. Oh,
And then you got that
no.
one friend that goes to every single party, so you just hear about
Every single
everything.
Yeah, and I'm just like, That's why even now, like if I go somewhere and I'm going somewhere with a group of people, you best believe I'm gonna drive myself. Because baby, if I feel something, because I'm
Yeah.
gonna feel something, and I say I'm
Right.
ready to go, I'm ready to go. That don't
Literally.
mean okay, we're gonna go in 30 minutes. No, they mean we leaving
Right.
now.
So
That's what
when I
that
shake
means.
these keys.
Listen, when I say I'm ready to go and you see me get up, you need to be at the car before me, because once it
Right.
starts, it's moving.
Okay.
I ain't waiting on you. I ain't even waiting on
Nobody.
you to put on a
I
seatbelt.
call
Baby,
somebody.
we're leaving. Okay.
Right.
So yeah, I completely get it. I completely get it. And I feel
Hmm.
like I've never really been at least once I got to high school. And maybe that's because I kind of did all that stuff early.
Hmm.
Not for a long time, but I had my little experience with it. And, once I got to high school, I was working full time.
Hmm.
I was in high school and I was going to community college at the same time. I was doing a lot,
Yeah.
and not even including the family stuff that was going on, child. Like I was doing a lot. So I ain't even had the energy if I wanted to talk about going to somebody's party on a Friday night. I had to
Right.
work anyway.
Well,
So
I'm not free.
right, right. So, I think I don't know. I don't know. And I see like I see the people that like even the people that graduated before me, they 28, 29 and still doing the same things that they was doing in high school. And I'm like, baby, when you gonna let it go?
Yeah.
When is you gonna let it go? It's over with.
Right.
That's
They're trying
been
to
10
relive.
years. Yeah, that's been 10 years for you. 11 years for you. Some of y'all 12. When you gonna let it go? That was a
Yeah.
decade and something ago. Like
Hmm.
you should be at a different space.
Right.
Want a different space. Want a different level. Want something different for yourself now. Not
Exactly.
the same thing that you was doing when you was 16, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what makes me so sad.
Hmm.
That's what makes me so sad. It's like y'all 30, 31, 32, 33, and acting like you 16.
Yeah.
Or I should say living your life like you 16. And
Mm.
I'm very confused.
Yeah. It's
I'm
wild
very
because
especially if you got children.
that's the one that always gets me. I'm like, you ain't got no kids. I mean, okay.
Mm.
But
Right, but you got children. You got a few now at this point. I don't
Turn
understand.
off the lights. Look, they said that's enough. Y'all talking about it. Somebody got their man.
Right. Right. Somebody may listen. Sorry, not sorry, but it's the truth.
Yeah, it is, and it needs to be
It's the truth.
expressed.
I ain't gonna never sugarcoat nothing like that for you. Like that
Right.
at some point, you gotta make that conscious decision and be like, all right, let me grow the fuck up. Let me
Mhm.
mature up.
Yeah.
Let me handle my business. You know what I'm saying? I want more for my life, whether
Mhm.
that be your own business, whether that be a CFO, a CEO, a COO, whatever it be.
Right.
You want something different and better and more for your life. Not in the club all the damn time,
Yeah.
not
It's
sitting on the
like
couch all the time, not, hanging around the same old dudes that ain't doing nothing with themselves. Birds of a feather flock together, love.
right. And people
You
hate that.
want to
People hate
evolve,
that
you want to,
saying, but
girl,
I
and
stand
you
on
know
it.
why?
I
You
stand on
know
it.
why? I'm glad you do because it's so true.
It is.
It's
It really
so
is.
true. Like if you want to grow and you say you want to be this, you want to be that, get you somebody that's already there.
Mhm. Yep.
Hang
That's one.
around those types of people, and I guarantee you will definitely get there quicker than you ever thought that you would.
That's the
But
one
as
because
long
I
as you
tell.
hanging around with Ray
Oh, right,
Ray
right.
and Quanisha and all of them that ain't doing nothing but driving the boat and whatever else the fuck they be saying, you ain't gonna get there to face you. It's gonna take you a long
Yeah.
time, baby,
Yeah, that's the
because you're
one
too busy
'cause
trying to keep up with them and their activities instead of working on you.
right, and pursuing what you want. Like, I feel like a lot of people are
Exactly.
so comfortable living or allowing other people to live through them, or,
Mm.
it's like, what do you want? Like, what do you want as an individual? What do you want? Who are you? Like, those are the main questions I'm asking. Like, who are you and what do you want
But I
for
think a lot of
you?
people are afraid of that. And
Mhm.
and going back to our conversation earlier, I think a lot of people are afraid of it because they didn't grow up being fed,
Right. Yeah.
soulfully fed, which I
Mhm.
understand. A lot of us didn't grow up being soulfully fed. We didn't grow up being told that you can do whatever you want to do. I mean,
Mhm.
well, my mama told me I could do whatever I wanted to do,
Yeah.
but I had to do something. I couldn't be a bum. But a lot of us didn't. A lot of us was went through a whole bunch of abuse as
Right.
children. We wasn't groomed to be like, hey, you are smart, you are intelligent, you are beautiful, you are handsome, you are gorgeous,
Mhm.
you are worthy. We didn't grow up with those affirmations and stuff.
Right.
We grew up, you better get your ass up and you better not miss the bus because I ain't taking you to school. That's what we grew up
Yeah.
with,
Yeah,
you
that's true.
know? That's what we grew up with. We grew up with why you got me up here, make got me looking horrible in front of these white folk. We ain't grow up with that softness.
Right.
And I think people like misconstrue being soft or the soft life with being weak or not being firm or stern
Mhm.
in your standards, in your beliefs, in your lifestyle. Like that's not what that means.
Right.
It just means that you don't have to be so hard about
Mhm.
everything. You don't have to be on a fight or flight mode.
Mhm.
It means that you can breathe and
Right.
take your time, actually
Mhm.
think it through, actually allow yourself to make a mistake and say, oh, okay, I learned that was a lesson. All right, so we're gonna try this way now. Not
Mhm.
to beat yourself up and now you got it out for the world and out for yourself and all of that. It's not that.
Yeah.
That ain't what living soft is about.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. Yeah. I'm very big on just gentle parenting myself because, when we break away from our parents, we become our own parent. So
Ooh, child.
for me, it was all about gentle parenting and like talking down to myself in the nicest
Mm.
way possible because I was so used to the aggression
Mm.
when it comes to communication and hostility and yelling and screaming. So there be times where I'm trying to express something, but it's not coming out in the way that I'm feeling. You know, it's just coming out the way that I was taught to communicate.
Mm.
Um, which is so important because, you know, I had made a tweet before saying how I was going to raise my parents and stuff and how I wasn't really going to be big on like whooping my kids. And I just remember somebody in the comments like, well, kids need discipline. And I'm like, that doesn't have to be the only way we're
Yeah, but it don't mean
disciplining our
abuse them.
children. Like, I just never got that. Like discipline is not equivalent to ass whoopings and beatings
Mhm.
and so on and so forth. So I think with, I can say one thing about this, current generation of parenting is that it is becoming more, inclined to the child's needs rather than parenting through frustration or through anger
Mhm.
or, emotion period. So I love seeing parents on TikTok or just on social media, period, that really are big on, treating their kids like people instead of objects.
Yeah.
And I think for my generation, that's kind of the type of parenting style I was used to was, being more abusive, but in a way where it's not really perceived as abuse. It's just, oh, this is normal. We supposed to beat our kids. We supposed to yell at our
Mm.
kids and ground them and do all these different things. And it's like you're doing all of this, but you're not spending time with us. You don't even know what I like
Mm.
to eat. You don't even know my
Mm.
favorite color. You don't know if I even got, like,
Say it.
yeah, the parents that I came up with, like it was more about, oh, I'm gonna get a roof over your head and do all these things, but fuck who you are and what you want and how you feel and all that, because that's irrelevant right now. I'm focusing on trying to get these bills paid. I'm focusing on trying to get a car, or get this or get that. So it's like, ooh, that time I just you look back on your childhood and you're like, damn, he didn't really spend time with me. He didn't really get to know me. We didn't really go out and do
Mm.
family stuff. I just
Right.
had to be stuck in my room. Or when I do be in my room too much, then it's a problem. So it's like, what do you want from me? What do you
Exactly.
want?
I
But
completely understand.
yes, it's frustrating because you get older and these things you're left with, you kind of have to figure out like, okay, what's staying?
Mhm.
What is staying?
Mhm.
And I was thinking about this the other day because I thought about my foundation and how unstable it was. And then I came to the conclusion that my foundation is only unstable because I'm still holding on to what I've learned in my upbringing. I'm only applying that as my foundation. Whereas I got to figure out now what my foundation needs to look like in order for me to grow in this new chapter of my life. Because the old foundation, yes, it was wonky. Yes, it was unstable, but it got me here. So now I need to figure out
You
what I
don't have to keep
need.
it. You can
Yeah,
revamp it. You can revamp
exactly.
it. And that's what we were saying about that whole, oh, well, that's how I grew up, or that's how
Mhm.
my mama was, or that's how my daddy was, and
Yeah,
stuff like that. Nah, baby, that's an excuse at this point. That's an excuse for you not to evolve and not to elevate and not to change, not to grow. That's an excuse for you to stay stagnant and to remain whoever you are currently are. And it might not be a good
right.
person, you know.
Exactly.
So that ain't doing you no justice by leaning on that crutch of, well, that's how my mama was, or that's how I was raised, or I've been like this all my life. Okay, well, you don't have to continue to be like that all your life.
Right.
Hey, what you gonna do? What is you gonna do? Is you gonna meal do? Or is you gonna barbecue? What you gonna do?
Literally. Heavy on what you gonna do. Cause I think I was even saying this today to my mom. My little brother, he had thought that I was the oldest
Mm,
out of my mom's kids. And I was like, no, I'm not the oldest. I might act like the oldest, but I'm not. And I think that I give off that vibe because of how much work I've had to do on myself and, uncovering a lot of things. Because I used to be the angry sister, but the
mm.
depressed sister, but the sad sister, like all in one. And I used to stay away from
Oh,
my
I get it.
siblings and like door locked. I'm in my emo mode. Like I don't want nobody talking to me. Don't even look at me.
Mhm.
Everybody stay away, arms linked. And I realized that's not really the way I want to live. I don't wanna
Right.
live like this, I don't wanna feel like this, like, it got to a point where I'm overweight to a point where I'm like, "Okay, something's up. Something's going on with me. I need
Uh-huh.
to I need to get down to the root of it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're just going to continue spiraling out of control." And that's where I started to like, I was like, okay, I don't know where we started, but I felt it. I felt the shift. And I just remember losing so much fucking weight, and everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, you look so good." I'm like, "No, fuck y'all. Where was y'all at when I was hurting?"
Exactly, exactly. Where the fuck was y'all at? 'Cause y'all wasn't with me shooting in the gym.
No, for real. Like I
Know what I'm saying?
literally,
Like, that'd be killing me. Like, "Oh my god, you look so good, whatever." Bitch,
yeah.
fuck you.
Like, where
Because
have
where
you
was you at?
been? Like, what have you been doing
All the
all these
times I tried to talk
years?
to you, all the
It's
time that
crazy.
I so many ways, you know what I'm saying? I reached
Right.
out for help or just a
Mhm.
ear because sometimes we don't necessarily, and that's another thing about therapy. Sometimes we don't necessarily need advice. Sometimes we just need to get it out.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
we be knowing, but it's like we still carrying it.
Yeah.
We just need to get it out,
I never
you
talked
know?
about it. Never even,
Right, right. So it's like, where was y'all at when I needed that? Where was y'all at when I was reaching out for that? Now y'all got something to say and y'all
yeah.
around now that I'm like you said, I done lost weight and I got this going on
Yeah.
and I got that going on now. Oh, now I'm recognizable. Oh, how
Right.
cute.
Now you can approach me. Oh, okay.
Right, right. No,
Okay, that's
F you.
interesting.
Stay where you at. Keep that same
No,
energy.
seriously.
Will love you from afar, literally. And it's wild because like it really be the people that you have given to the most and that you would
Mhm.
still give your everything for,
Yep.
like family.
Mhm.
And by family, I mean blood, because I'm a firm believer that family ain't always blood.
Yeah, that's a big one that I had to learn
Blood can be
myself.
family, but family ain't always blood. But they
Mhm.
be the main ones.
Facts.
They be the main ones that, really don't fool with you and really ain't there or supporting you when you truly need it.
Right.
Like how we live how is it that we all live in the same house under the same roof, right? And
Mhm.
that's why I never understand that like about when it comes to like suicide, which is a very touchy subject, or
Yeah.
even suicide attempts, and the parents or the other people that live in the house, they're like, "Oh, I never noticed, I never knew." And it's just like, there's always signs.
Right.
There's always heavy signs at that. There's always times where that person, I guarantee it, that person said, "Hey, I'm just not feeling well. I just need somebody to talk to," or,
Mhm.
whatever it is, there's always signs.
Right.
And I guarantee you, they definitely tried to talk to you or reach out to you
Mhm.
more than once.
Yeah.
And you were not there. You
Yeah,
did
it's
not
as
hold
simple
space.
as, "How are you?" You know?
Exactly. A
That
genuine "How
simple.
are you?" Not a greeting, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" No, a
Yeah.
genuine "Sit down. How was your day?
Yeah.
How are you feeling?"
Mhm.
You know? And like you said, it's that simple. That makes
Yeah.
all the difference in people's lives. Like in my 9 to 5, I do that with my crew. Randomly, I am them like, "Hey," they be like they think they in trouble, like, "Oh, hey," it's like, "Nah, you good. I'm just checking in with you. How are
Right.
you?" "Oh, I'm good." I'm just like, "No, really, how are you?"
Mhm.
And they just break down like, "No one ever asked me that."
Mhm.
And it just saddens me that we live in a world where people are so full of themselves and so full of running for themselves that they don't even have the empathy to ask another human being. It could be a random stranger in a damn grocery store. "Hey, how are you? Are
Right.
you okay?" We walk by people every day that's literally on the edge,
Mhm. I don't even know it.
and we don't know it. Sometimes we do, but don't know it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things because 'cause you'd see like I've had plenty of people in high school that, had kids committed suicide, things like that. And, you'd always hear oh, they were such a good kid, or oh, they were so nice. And, it's like it doesn't have to be the person that's wearing all black. It doesn't have to be the person that, is
Mhm.
looks a certain
The
way or acts a
stereotype,
certain,
yeah.
yeah, it sometimes it's the person that's making everybody laugh, or the person that is always checking on you, like,
Mhm.
the people you least expect, because people are expecting it to be a specific person or,
Yeah.
specific group of people. Like once we take that, stigma away from
Mhm.
suicide and depression and mental health, period, we'll realize that we're all going through something. So it could be
Yeah.
anybody. It's not it's
Yeah.
why them? Why would they? It could be anybody. You never know who's
Anybody.
on their last. You never know who's, ready to blow up. You know what I'm saying? Because you got people that aren't suicidal, but, are angry. And the only way they know how to express is through anger. So it's like, we shame anger so much that people suppress that. They suppress their frustrations and their anger
Mhm.
because it's looked at as a bad thing. But now we got people that are going about their anger in so many different ways, like
Mhm.
killing and
Like serial killers.
yeah,
Mhm.
like they're going about it in
Yeah.
so many different ways. So when you don't give people space to express their emotions, then they're going to find a way to do that. You know what I'm saying? That could be harmful
Mhm.
to not only themselves, but those around them. So it's so important to stop placing these stereotypes on suicide and who can be suicidal, because anybody can reach that point. I've reached that point. I know people in my
Yeah.
family that have reached that point. So it's
Likewise.
it's not the people that you least expect. It's anybody. It could be you. It,
It could
it
be
could
you.
it
There
could
you
be
go.
anybody.
Exactly. It could be you. And I think that's something that people take highly for granted that it could be you.
Yeah.
It literally could be you and you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow that's gonna send you into a whole mental breakdown.
Right. Yeah.
You
Because
literally don't know.
I know this past week was like, I'm just
It
being
was rough.
thrown shit left and right. Like, you get this, you get that. And I was just like, Lord.
Yeah. So how'd you cope? How did you
I did a lot of
maneuver through
resting.
that?
I rested a lot. Like when I get very like at that point, I'm like, let me just relax and lay down and get back grounded, because I think for me, I get very like I fall back into my patterns of things that are not healthy. Like I was binge eating, I'm doing all this other stuff.
Mhm.
And I'm grateful that those are my coping mechanisms, because some people resort to drugs or sex or
Girl,
abusing
yes.
themselves in other ways. So I'm like, I'm glad this is something that I can control,
Mhm.
because God knows if I was still in that space that I was years ago, there's no telling how I would have got through that situation that I just went through.
Mhm.
But I think it really is a testament to how much we grow when we start to, show like, oh, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm doing things differently. I'm coping differently. So that's a sign of growth. And I'm proud of myself, because I could have
I'm
done
proud
so
of
many
you.
other different things. But like, you know what? I'm gonna just eat a lot and watch some TV and
Right.
relax, because I can't control what's going on outside of me, but I can control what I do and how I go about doing it. And I did a lot of walking too, because being outside, it's a little cold. But one of the biggest things for me is nature has always been comforting for me. And just being out in
Well, yes,
nature.
Miss Taurus Moon.
I'm like, I need to start a garden at this point.
At this point, yes,
I need a
ma'am. Go
garden.
ahead. Do your whole flower garden and a vegetable
Yeah.
garden.
I cannot wait to actually I'm trying to get my own apartment first. So we're gonna
You
get
ain't
that.
trying,
I
you
am.
are getting it.
Yes, you are right. You are right. You are right. I love when
Mhm.
people correct me, because I do that too. I'm like, oh, no, oh. But
Back
I
up.
love that. I love that, because
Yeah.
we're helping each other reprogram our minds, because
We have to.
it's a
We have
necessity.
to.
And it's a
Yes.
beautiful thing, because people will be like, oh, this world is so terrible. Everybody's mean. But we got encounters like this where,
Yeah.
you know, it's more genuine. So there are genuine people out there. There are loving people out there. There's so much out here in the world that we don't see, because we're blinded by the negativity or by
Mhm.
whatever else is in the way. But I think even for people that, going back to like suicide and all that, but for people that are out there and don't really know how to get through their situation, there's somebody out there for you. There's somebody out there that can listen to you. There's someone out there that cares.
Mhm.
There's someone out there that loves you.
Right.
And sometimes that's not enough, um which I get it, especially when you're deprived of that for so long, and it's just kind of like
Mhm.
it's more that needs to be fulfilled. um
Yeah.
but there's something for you in this world, and I know for me, I found my peace in helping those around me, but most importantly, acknowledging that I needed help too. And there's
Yes.
nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with needing help. There's nothing wrong with being sick. There's nothing wrong with it. That's where we have to learn how to not shame ourselves for what we go through,
People
our
be afraid of that.
conditions. Yeah. And it's ooh, I love that you said that though, because that's a big thing. Fear is such a big thing that we don't really we talk about it, but when it comes to certain things, we're kind of shying away from how we feel about, our fears and the
Yeah.
things that we hold so close. No one will know anything about it. No one know anything about, you being
But
afraid of
imagine if
certain
we
outcomes.
actually let it out.
Mhm.
We actually let it out and let it be a cloud,
Yeah.
right? And I mean, after the rain is what? Sunshine.
Mhm. Right.
But if we holding this big ass all this water in this cloud, at some point it's gonna burst.
Mhm.
And it ain't gonna be pretty. You talking about a tornado, a hurricane, maybe even a tsunami, child. I don't know.
Mhm.
But it ain't gonna be pretty.
Right.
But so many of us are afraid.
Mhm.
But we've been conditioned and taught to be afraid
Mhm.
because we've
How to
been taught that
combat
it's
it.
not safe to express yourself because you're
Mhm.
gonna get made fun of. You're gonna be seen as weak. You don't have time for that. And that's in our community, that's men and women. It's told to us in different ways versus being a
Right.
man and a woman, but it's literally both of us.
Mhm. Yep.
It it ain't gender biased at all,
No,
unfortunately.
not at all. Not at all.
It goes for all of us, and that's why I think it's important for, us to do the work that we do too, because
Mhm.
holding those safe spaces, not just for ourselves, but
Right.
for other people is so necessary because it's a ton of people. It's a million people walking around here and they don't feel safe in their own home.
Yeah.
They
That's
don't
fun.
feel safe in their own home
Mhm.
because it's not a home. It's a
Right.
house.
Yep. That's a fact.
And a lot of people, Lord, see, my mind and went somewhere else. And I'm gonna just say this little piece about it. During COVID, that was a major thing that I saw. It was a huge download that I got, and then I actually started seeing it.
Mhm.
COVID showed a lot of people whether they was living in a house or whether they was living in a home.
Right.
COVID showed a lot of people with the pandemic shutdown, right?
Mhm.
Showed a lot of people whether they was they was married to a partner or whether they was married to a bill
Mhm.
or whether they was married to a convenience, right? COVID showed a lot of people that whether they were a procreator or a mama or a daddy.
Mhm.
And what I mean by that is a lot of people don't, like you said earlier, don't even know what their kids like to eat
Right.
because they're so used to only seeing their kids and being interactive with their children for maybe 2, 3 hours out of a
Mhm.
24-hour day.
Yeah.
They see them for what, an hour maybe in the morning and ship them off to school. Now the teacher, the principals, the gym teacher and whatnot is raising your children.
Right.
They come home, you tell them to do their homework, eat this dinner, it's time for bed, all within 2.5 hours.
Mhm.
You spent no time with your children. Then you put them in these
Nothing.
extracurricular activities. They got games and stuff on the weekend. You still spend no time with your child.
Right.
Now we back at Sunday. Oh, time to get prepared for Monday. You got school in the morning, go to bed.
Mhm.
You spent no time with your child, so you don't know if your child is struggling or not.
Right.
You don't know if what they facing, what they battling or not.
Mhm.
You don't know what their favorite color is. You don't know what they favorite music is. You
Mhm.
don't know if they into bad habits, drugs, sex, whatever.
Right.
You don't know none of it. But then they wonder why or what they did wrong when they child end up pregnant or they having a baby at 14, 13, and all
Mhm.
that. Or they strung out by the time they get to high school and you gotta try to get them into a rehab or you can't afford a rehab, so now you putting them out on the street. All that type of
Right.
stuff. Where did I go wrong?
And see, they make it
I
about
mean,
them.
children, right? They make it about them when it ain't about them.
Mhm.
Children act out when they're not getting attention.
Mhm.
I'm a firm believer. Everybody know that don't mean my motto is kill it at the root. You ain't got to deal with the fruit. A child acting out is just the fruit of a root. It's a
Mhm.
symptom of a root.
Yeah.
This child is trying to get your attention. Your spouse is trying to get your attention,
Mhm.
but you're not there. And I feel like the pandemic showed a lot of people how they there, but they ain't there.
Right.
You there physically, but you ain't present.
You ain't present.
You ain't present. You ain't even present with yourself because you don't even know what the fuck you like.
Right.
All you know is, oh, I gotta be to work at 7 o'clock in the morning. All right. Gotta be up by
Mm.
6 then, or I gotta be up by
Yeah.
5 because we got morning traffic. And
Mhm.
okay, I'm gonna work a 12-hour shift. When I get off, I'm gonna come home, eat dinner, or I'm tired, ready to bed.
Yep. That sounds
Nothing
about right.
else.
Sounds about
Nothing else. You don't
sounds
even
about
spend an
wrong.
hour, right? You don't even spend an hour with yourself to just
Yeah.
sit there and just listen to you.
Right.
Or sit there and look at the sun or look at the stars if you're a night owl,
Mhm.
whatever. Or just go sit in the park and put your feet in the grass.
Mhm.
Reground yourself.
Right.
Or, like you said, take yourself out to a nice lunch, you
Something.
know, something. So not only did the pandemic people show people that they in marriages or relationships that they're not even in a partnership. They just cohabitate and they roommates.
Mhm. Right.
We just pay bills together.
Right.
But it also showed that they wasn't even together with themselves,
Right.
meaning they didn't have a relationship with themselves. Now, a lot of people did take advantage of that though. They started biking, hiking, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Getting into hobbies and things like that. But anyway, that's my little tangent on that child. But
Oh, but it's true, and I know that COVID or even the pandemic has allowed us to face ourselves and so many other things. So I think even in all of that, like it's really put people in a position where you can't run now. Can't
yeah,
run. What do you where you gonna run to?
you couldn't
Clubs are
run.
closed, bars are closed,
Everything closed.
closed down, and all you got
Either
is
people
yourself.
became even more of an alcoholic or an
True.
addict to whatever it was that they was addicted to,
Right.
or they became couch potatoes.
Mhm.
Um, people was dealing with very bad anxiety because they weren't used to sitting with themselves.
Yeah.
The room that I was talking about earlier, they wasn't used to sitting in the room by
Mhm.
themselves and being going neck to neck with their own demons.
Right. Yeah.
Looking at everybody else front porch, but ain't not one time sat down and was like, I need to clean around my own porch. Let me get that
Yeah.
broom right quick. Nah,
Yeah.
nope, not once.
Nothing. Just just enabling their own shit. And well, might as well just throw my life away. But
Ain't that something?
it's like what? Like this is what it,
That's
like
wild.
when we have the opportunity to choose, you really see what people would rather do, like as far as how they live their lives. And for some, it's like, okay, do you? Because I know I'm gonna do me. I know I'm gonna do what makes me happy. But you see people that are only doing things, like we said earlier, to escape and not so much live. Like, everybody's in survival mode. Like,
Mhm.
let's live, let's be free, let's stop worrying and stressing. Like, God's gonna take care of whatever needs to be taken care of. You
Period.
focus on what you can control. Because I think that's
Mhm.
a lot of people's issue nowadays is that they wanna be able to control things that are outside of them, but
And they can't control nothing but them.
exactly. And that's why they have such a hard time facing themselves because you trying to get everything else together and in order. Get you together and in order. So then everything outside of you is gonna reflect that back to you.
Mhm.
Um,
'Cause it
but some
ain't
people
nothing
don't
but
get
a
that.
frequency and
Exactly.
energy. We just bouncing energy off of the thing, off of everything. Everything holds
Exactly. Yeah.
energy.
Mhm.
Everything. So I 1,010% agree.
Mhm. Yeah. So
Get you
important.
together and watch everything else in your life realign itself. Watch
Right.
stuff start falling by the wayside.
Mhm.
Watch stuff start spinning the block for you that you
Right.
thought that you could never have, or you thought that you would not get the opportunity to have or do again,
Yeah.
and it be
My
knocking on your
words.
door.
That's the truth. He been preaching this entire time, and I love it. I appreciate you just even getting on the episode with me today and, holding
I'm
space
happy to be
because
here.
it's a beautiful conversation that we had. I know somebody out there is gonna be like, "Oh, this is so needed. I needed this."
Hey, that's my goal in life, period.
Yeah,
Is I'm a happy woman if I could just help one person, at least one person,
right. Yeah.
heal and live an extra moment.
Mhm.
Actually live an extra moment. That's it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, and I'll definitely have you on again in the future. I gotta get everything organized because I'm about to start working, so I gotta get my schedule put together. But when I
Girl,
do,
go
I
ahead
will
and put
let
it
you
together so I
know.
can come back. I would love
Hey,
to.
I got you. I'm gonna reach out. And I was thinking about making like a little forum thing. People could sign up and do it that way, so it's more neater and not too crazy, but I'm glad you had the time to come on to today's episode. It was great and I enjoyed myself and I hope you did as well.
I
Um,
did. I appreciate this
yeah,
conversation. It was everything.
I'm glad. I'm glad you did. It makes me feel good. And this was definitely a good conversation. Hell, I even opened up things that I needed to hear for myself.
Oh, come on,
So
somebody.
so
We
that's
love
that's one of my
that.
favorite things is, being able to hear what I need to hear in the
Yeah.
moment. So thank you so much for pulling up with me and having this conversation. Anything that you want to announce or you got any special things coming up for the people out there that want to get to know you a little bit more.
Um, I do, as I mentioned earlier, I'm in the process of rebranding Madame Midheaven. I am working on a little special something something. So y'all follow me on IG at lyric Chanel underscore ABN. That's LYRICCHANEL underscore ABN. And stay tuned because in the fall, baby, we gonna have it all. And that's when all the great things are happening.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you again. You take care. Have an amazing rest of your night. And I know we'll see each other soon. So y'all,
Yes,
y'all be
real
ready for
soon.
part
Don't be
two.
a stranger now. We're
Oh,
gonna have a
never
part
that.
two,
Never
and we
that.
might we might have a little wine or something next time
I would
too.
love that. I would love that actually.
A
That's
little
in my painting.
wine. See,
I love that. Yeah, definitely gotta get me some of that. I've been hearing about Taylor Port or something like that. I don't know if you tried it, but I might get some.
Taylor
I might get
Ford. That
some.
sounds familiar.
You have to try that
Is
out.
that a red? It sounds like.
I
Is that a
think it I
red?
think it might be. I think it might
Okay, I
be.
think I might have had it before. It sounds very familiar.
Imma try it and I'll
You
let you
try it and
know
let
when
me
I
know.
yeah, I got you. You take care,
Okay.
my love. Have an amazing
You
rest of
too,
your night.
lovely. I appreciate you, and we'll talk soon.
Yes, we will. See you guys next time. Peace.